Alumni Society. If you are returning, it is awesome to see you again. And if you are joining us for the first time, you've made an excellent decision and you are not going to regret it. My name is Alma Akop, aka A Voice to Be Reckoned With, and I'm going to be your host for today as well as for the rest of the week. So first of all, just some quick ground rules. I do see that the host is muted, everyone, but please do stay muted throughout the duration of the conversation. We would love to give our guest of honor the ability to speak without being interrupted. Also, if you have any questions throughout the session, please make use of the chat option. Make sure that you put your questions in there. In fact, use it as a notebook. If you have any points, key points that you want to add, please use the chat room throughout the entire session for that. If you are joining us and you are not a Golden Key member, just to say that Golden Key is an international honor society that recognizes the top 15% academically excellent students at over 400 universities in the world. So without further ado, gives me great honor to introduce our guest speaker for today. Jamie Thurston Wyngaard is a dynamic Cape Townian with a vast background ranging from biotechnology, media, and fintech. He is seen as a thought leader in design thinking through his development of enhanced business validation techniques. Jamie has numerous awards for entrepreneurship and social responsibility and is recognized as the highest honor of the University of the Western Cape Student Achiever of the Year. He continues to pursue his drive to alleviate poverty by being a mentor for teenentrepreneur.co.za, where he encourages and assists with the development of entrepreneurial mindsets within the youth. And his main focus is the wearetheagency.co.za, where it is a concept development agency where he operates as the managing director to ideate and strategize new business ventures. His CV goes on, and I'd like to stop it right over there and so that I can give the shine back to him. But please do help me welcome, using emojis or whatever you can do virtually, our guest speaker, Jamie.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That is quite a mouthful. It's funny to hear it come from someone else. Thank you for the nice introduction. So thanks everyone for joining us today. For those, I must also apologize that I got my dates mixed up. So people are going to join us tomorrow by accident. And then they're just going to see another presentation, which I think isn't going to be bad for Golden Key. But to those people, I think we also are going to be recording this, so we will send it out as well. So my topic, let me actually get my screen share going over here. And I'm going to be talking about thriving in a pandemic, which is the overall theme for the week. But my focus is around entrepreneurship. So I'm going to not try to get too excited about this. So I don't want to speak too fast and mumble over my words. It's my first real big conference via Zoom. But let me get into it. So what are we going to expect today? And I'm trying to get this into the next slide. There we go. So what I want to do today is spit some facts for you guys and look at how are we really going to be able to thrive in a pandemic? How are other people doing it and what can we do about it? Number two is how are the rich getting richer? So I'm not sure if people have seen the news or have checked out what Forbes and some other big publications and financial things are talking about, but it turns out that, unsurprisingly, the rich are getting richer and the poor and middle class are suffering. So I kind of want to know more about that and how that works and what can we do about it. Then number three for me, I feel, is what can we learn from these billionaires? So there are people making a killing now during the COVID situation. And I want to know what can we learn from these billionaires? Besides just now, I think there's a lot to learn beyond COVID and pre-COVID and post-COVID. Then what we can do about our situation. And this, I feel, is where we're coming of trying to ideate now and think, what can we do about ourselves? How can we become these future billionaires? Or maybe some of you guys might actually be billionaires right now. So if you are, pop me a mail. I have some investments for you. But that's where I think we can look at things about looking at us at our situation. Then number five, I have my little ways of how do we get to thrive? And there's ways that I've worked and ways that I work with my clients to look at how we can best ideate and best prosper, not just through this pandemic, but future-proofing your company and making sure that you actually get something that goes out, I would say, forever and make all the money. And number six, I think, is very important, is how do we actually implement this? Because it's cool if I'm going to tell you all the tips and tricks, and this is what the billionaires are doing, and this is what the stats is saying. But you can look back at me and say, but Jamie, how do I even do this? So to start it off, let me give you some facts, right? So this is quite a global pandemic. So I want to look at what's happening in America right now. And literally in 3 months, America added 29 more billionaires. But 45.5 million people filed for unemployment. And this just shows to me there's such a big disconnect between those that have money and those that don't. And I really feel like we need to, gosh, I wouldn't want to be on the side of the unemployed. And I think a lot of people by force have to be unemployed. And now I'm thinking, what could we have done to be on the other side? What could we have done to be on the billionaire side to have created wealth and to be wealth creators and wealth earners? Because it seems almost too good to be true how these people came out of nowhere and became billionaires. And it's such a weird concept to think about, yet there's millions of people that lost their jobs. We see the shops are closing down, the restaurants are closing down. There's such a big, almost like a gloom effect that's happening, but yet there's some people smiling and living their best lives. So that was kind of intriguing to me, and I wanted to investigate this a bit. And that's what I'm going to try to talk to you about now is what happened. How did people become billionaires while other people were suffering? So I kind of did a lot of research and put together the billionaires cheat sheet for us. And I'm going to dig into this a bit. So one way that billionaires right now, that from the 29 billionaires in America, some people got money from divorce, like Jeff Bezos and his wife or his ex-wife. Some people earned it through doing a lot of different businesses. But one of the big ways that rich people kept getting richer is because of complicated tax stuff, economics, offshore accounts, things that rich people do because they have rich people money. And I know for a fact that a lot of us are able to do that. And that's where it is a big divide between billionaires and us as, I would say, the common folk. But that's something I think maybe our big economists that are listening to this Zoom chat can tell us about. Maybe add your comments to see how we can make money off these complicated tax situations. But what really happened, from what I understand with these billionaires, is that because government started reducing tax, they started reducing the interest rates to help off the less fortunate people, or the majority of the people. The richer people also benefited from these tax cuts and lower interest rates and all these other things. Also, when they moved money around, as economies got hit, they were able to buy and sell shares and stocks and all these other things. It sounds too complicated for me. So, and it's also such a big barrier to entry for us. So I'm going to kind of skip that one, even though that's a big deal. But I'm going to look at the next point. And the next point on the billionaires cheat sheet is that billionaires kind of know how to work with their money. And this is something that we need to learn and need to adopt. It doesn't matter how much or how little money you have. We need to know how to work with money. So the thing with billionaires is, it might not look like it, but they try to live within their means. And this is something that I can say, okay, you can't say that because some people, it's so easy for us to splurge. It's so easy. It feels so good when we go shopping and buy those things. But the truth is, we need to actually have a culture of saving and investing. A simple thing now where I can look at how billionaires prospered over this time is how the property market in South Africa, I can even literally point out Cape Town on its own. I recently moved house and I saw how the prices of houses dropped in the city. And for people, if you don't have money, then you can't capitalize on this opportunity. But whereas people that might have had savings or investment or a nest egg or something saved up from before, they were now able to put down a deposit to get this. The interest rates are at its lowest right now. The price for housing is at its lowest right now. This is literally the best time to buy for a buyer. If it's your first home, right now is the best time to buy. And there's things like the government subsidy for your first home. So if you are able and are by the means, I would definitely suggest taking your cash, investing in property. Because property is something, I think we all know this really. Property is something that doesn't depreciate as much as it appreciates. Oh, I'm not an accountant. I'm not an economist. But even though the value of property came down right now, over time, it's going to regain its value and will definitely end up more valuable than what it was. So we know what happened now in the city. Well, this pandemic caused a lot of different issues. So it caused a lot of chaos and people are moving out of different places. Also, there's a lot of developments happening and standing empty. So everyone's trying to reduce the prices because I think we learned in grade 9 economics, supply and demand. So because less people technically have money, the demand for housing has gone down. And also because less people have money, people are moving out of expensive homes. So now those expensive homes are going for much cheaper. And that I think is a really good point. If you buy the means, take it. Take it and run. Go get that investment. Get that property. My next point, and I think this is probably a big one for me, and a big one for these billionaires, and this is how a lot of people became big billionaires, is solve a problem. It sounds so simple, but I think we know that we're also in this complaint culture that we have. Sorry to bring up culture so much, but this is like we have cancel culture. Culture is literally a thing. We need to get into a situation and maybe adapt a new culture of money. But when it comes to solving a problem, this is where businesses thrive. If I think of a lot of businesses that are booming right now, or have been booming, or have been coming out of nowhere and just winning, is businesses solve a problem. It might sound simple, but if I think about it, look at Uber, for instance. Uber came out of nowhere and knocked out the cab companies. Well, cab companies still operations. I didn't knock them out completely. It's not a complete KO. But what Uber did was they took out the anxiety of not knowing where your vehicle is, and also the anxiety of, if I pay this guy, can I trust him? Where's the liability? Who takes responsibility if I leave something in my vehicle? They looked at all these problems people have with the current cab system, and they solved it. Another example could be, look at Facebook. You might think, oh, what problem does Facebook solve? All I do is share memes on Facebook. But how Facebook started is, the problem was, I wanted to connect with old friends from school, from high school, from university. And that's what Mark Zuckerberg thought of when he started Facebook. And then he did it. He solved the problem by making something better than MySpace. Because what they did was look at what is available. And the same thing, Uber, Netflix, all this other new business popping up now. What is available? And what problems are we having with the situation, and how can we solve it? So I want us to kind of shift our mindset from this complaint culture of saying, this is government's fault, this is their fault, someone needs to fix this, someone needs to do this, someone needs to give me this, and time to turn around and think, hey, I'm in a situation here, I've got a problem. I wonder if I can solve this problem. And more often than not, if you're able to solve a problem that's really frustrating you, there's a high chance that there's other people that also have the same problem, but you're not able to provide them with a solution. And if your solution is good enough and the problem is bad enough and people are willing to pay you for your solution, you've got a viable business. And this is where things can move forward for, I think, a lot of South Africans to get out of the complaint culture and take, like, I really feel complaints is the best way to get a business going. Find those complaints, find your frustration, label your confusion, give your confusion a name, give your confusion a catchphrase, and take the confusion and then sit and ideate to look at how I can solve this. I want to give you guys a really good example now. I'm not sure if you guys heard of Zoom, because we're literally using Zoom right now. So Eric Yuan, he's the CEO of Zoom. His wealth multiplied. His wealth, this guy's making millions and millions, as Trump would say, millions and millions. But this guy's wealth, since the COVID-19 epidemic started, 43.2 billion. That's what he's worth right now. So in 2019, this guy wasn't even on the top 500 list of richest people in the world. This guy is now in the top 200 in less than a year, in less than 6 months. And the way he started Zoom, it wasn't just a quick thing that came up, because look, we had Skype, we had Google Hangouts, we had all these other things. But he thought of, he still had problems with it. He still had problems with the current system. And what made him start Zoom? I read up a little bit about him, and he moved to America. He moved to Silicon Valley. But while he was still studying, he had a girlfriend. They married now. Nice for them, nice for her. But at the time, his girlfriend was so far away, you could only see her once a month, and it took him about 10 hours to get to her. So he thought, wouldn't it be nice if he could just call her on an app and do like a little video call? But he didn't like the current system that was out there. And him being a little software engineer, thought of building his own little system. And one thing that I think set Zoom apart was being able to change your backgrounds. So he started playing around with going to different events, and people would think, oh, why is this guy sitting on the Bahamas? But then he just swipes and, I fooled you. And he's actually like in a boardroom or something. But he had a problem and he solved that problem. Instead of pointing fingers and saying, this is Google's responsibility, this is Apple's responsibility, this is the government's responsibility, he looked at solving it. And by solving it, he kept solving customers' problems within Zoom. And that's why more people started choosing Zoom over Skype that's been there for years, over Google Hangouts. And I see Google tries to advertise every time. Every time I get a Zoom link to a meeting, in that link to the meeting via Google, Google advertises me to this meeting via Google Hangouts. Yet we don't for some reason. But this is a really clear example of how someone had a problem, solved it, and used through this pandemic, thrived. But I know I can't say, like, look, we can't all just make a business and thrive during the pandemic. It might be a bit unrealistic. There are, however, people that have been thriving through the pandemic, and I'm not going to talk about the people doing the corruption vibes, but there's people that have looked at hand sanitizers, people that are looking at making masks, making face masks, people that have looked at the situation and thought, okay, what's going on, and how can I solve this? And that's what really sets entrepreneurs apart from the complainers. The complainers want to complain and point fingers, but don't want to do anything about it. Whereas entrepreneurs look at, how do I solve this problem? And with this, I think one of my best ways of solving problems is utilizing design thinking. This is gold, guys. Design thinking is probably like literally the best way to think of solving problems and to find a way to solve problems. So Apple, Tesla, Facebook, like literally all the top Fortune 500 companies are using design thinking, and it's becoming a nice trend for our little corporates in South Africa that's picking up design thinking. So before design thinking, people had this, what we call the hippo mentality. And I'm sure some people might still be witnessing this in the boardroom, where hippo is the hired paid person's opinion. So if you sit in the boardroom and whoever gets paid the most really makes all the decisions without knowing the facts behind it. Whereas where design thinking comes in, it's more about being customer centric and building for your actual user. Because when you're working for a big corporate, that big CEO doesn't know what's going on the ground, doesn't know what the customer really wants. So they say, oh, let's make this really cool idea, pump in 10, 20 million into the whole concept. They go to market and nobody wants it. And people wonder why. And the reason why a lot of businesses fail, a lot of startups fail, a lot of corporates fail, a lot of money gets wasted, is because they haven't really done the due diligence around who is my customer and what does my customer want. So I'm about to give you the big load of tea around design thinking. And this is what I use with my clients. So you guys are getting a nice free tip here. We usually do big consultations and workshops around design thinking. So now you're going to get a juicy piece of design thinking from me. But the main thing of design thinking is really a creative process to solve problems. And it is human-centered. It is more of looking at who the user is and how do I focus things for the people that have the problems and solving those problems for them. So the first point in design thinking is empathize. So this is the point where you actually get to understand who your users are, who your market is, and you're going to research their needs. You're going to physically ask questions in interviews, because more often than not, we think, oh, I've got an amazing idea. I've got an amazing business. You think this is how it's going to work. This is what it's going to do. But you actually haven't asked your market how they want things done. And it might sound like, I think Henry Ford was the one that said, if I asked the people what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horse. So Henry Ford is the guy that invented the car guy that made the Ford. But the situation I'm feeling about here isn't about asking them what they want, but understanding what their needs are. If you can cater to your market's needs, it's definitely catering to what their wants are. They will often tell you they want something, but they don't know exactly what they want. But if you start probing and understanding what it is that what their needs are, you can start clearly empathizing with them and getting proper research around what it is that they need doing. So I feel this is the first step when you want to really prosper in any pandemic or in any situation, any business you're about to launch. Ask the questions to your users. Find out what it is they need and find out what is bothering them. There's a little exercise I do called the pains and gains exercise. And in this, we actually literally ask the users, what pains do you have around whatever the situation is? And what gains do you have? So what do you enjoy about the situation? And it could be, if I use Zoom as an example, what do you like about Skype or video calls or Google Hangouts? And what don't you like about it? And then what we try to create is pain relievers and gain creators. And that's how we empathize with our users. The next step in design thinking is define. And I think all my project managers will clap their hands right now, because the best thing you need to do if you are going to go into any business you need to understand what you're trying to solve. So you need to define what it is you're going to do. So after analyzing all your observations from your user interviews, after understanding what their pains and gains are, after empathizing with them, you're now able to state what their needs are and what their problems are. Once you've really clearly defined their problem, you can now look at things on a broader perspective. This is where you were able to look at the assumptions you might have had, and you were able to clear those assumptions, or you can even prove those assumptions. But the best thing to do is really challenge those assumptions. So once you define something, you really can create a problem statement for your user. Number 3, and this is where you get creative. This is the ideate. This is where you look at what information you got, what definitions you got, and how do you solve these problems. I think a lot of people usually jump to ideate mode. They jump to solution mode without trying to figure out steps 1 and 2 first, without having empathy and without understanding what they're trying to solve. And that's where projects get very messy, because people try to make solutions for things, for problems they don't clearly understand. And this is a very nice way to work in this little flow, because now you can start looking at more creative ways, and I would say going extremely wide and even wacky solutions to solve your problems. And even in your wacky solutions, you can find some truth and some way of thinking differently. People always use the phrase thinking outside of the box, but I'm telling you the truth, it works. Because if it really was something that people thought about, it would have been there already. But the best ideas, I'm telling you, where you think outside of the box and hit that actual idea, it's so simple that you actually think, why did no one think of this before? And that's where you start looking at alternative ways. And this is where you can even do some more research of how have other people solved this problem, and how can I copy, paste, and adapt what they're doing to solve the same problem I might have. So that's kind of a big deal, I would say, is the copy, paste, and adapting. This is a cool trick I've learned by observation. And you can do a lot of research by overseas companies or even within your community. And when you go to Ideate, and the nice thing about design thinking is you can always go back a few steps and go forward a few steps and mix things up a bit. Because even in your ideation, you can start looking at which of these ideas might work best based on user interviews or information I'm getting from other solutions that might have come about. Cool. But Ideate is what you need to do and get creative about. The next part is your prototyping. And this is going to save you a lot of money, because people usually go straight from idea into making and launching a business. But the thing is, if you're able to prototype your business on a small scale, and this is where you start to create your solution, you can even do this on paper. And you take your prototype and you design your prototype to start really testing these assumptions. So the aim of the prototype is to literally look at how you can design the best out of all your ideas, all your ideas. How can you design the best way to solve those problems and physically do it? If you're trying to build an app, build the app on paper first. It's much cheaper, and you can literally walk through it yourself and see how this works. If you need to do even like more advanced tools, you can use certain graphic design tools. There's gosh, I'm trying to think of, I'm going to drop some links on tools that you can help you prototype your audio apps. But whatever your business is, literally make it on paper first, prototype it. It's literally a cheap way and scaled down version of your product. And this is where you can even start testing certain features around your idea. So if your idea might be a very big idea, you can literally break up the different ideas in your big concept, in your big business, and prototype each certain phase, each certain feature. And when you prototype those features and design the prototype, you design certain tests for them, you actually get such rich data back when you actually do the testing of the prototype. And that is the next step, test. So you're going to literally try out your solutions. So all your prototypes that you developed, take your prototypes and go test it out. This is before you go to market, before you launch your product or service. And the best thing that I like about testing, and what I ask when I do user testing, I ask my users, please break this. Take my app, take my business, take my idea and break it. Tell me what is wrong with this. And what I need people to do, what I need a lot of entrepreneurs to do, is not be so sensitive around your baby. Yes, this is your business. Yes, it is your future nest egg. It's your investment. You put so much time and effort into this. But don't get too attached to your business, because if you're too attached, you're not able to be flexible enough and agile enough to meet your users' demands. Because if you're building for yourself alone and according to your own assumptions, and you take this to market, your users are not going to want to have this. And then you're going to actually end up wasting all that time and energy. So literally become flexible and test and go back and forward. Go back to your phase 1 of empathizing with the test. Go back to your phase 2 of defining what the problem is. So you literally take your test, let them break it, and define what broke. And you go to the next phase again of how do I solve this problem? And you literally keep making a continuous loop within your system. And you can start releasing, I'll call it your minimal viable product. You can start releasing your MVP. And in your MVP, you also continue to test. So this is literally the main 5 parts of design thinking. But I want you to also keep in mind that these stages aren't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are numbers that I would say you can go 1, 5, 3, 2, 1, 4. In any sequence, follow the sequence first, but you're going to keep mixing them around as you keep testing and growing with your business. The main thing is knowing what your goal is and trying to achieve that goal. But these steps all are intertwined and interlinked with each other. So literally use design thinking to get a good understanding of what your product's going to be and what your product is going to solve. Because I'm telling you, once you're able to solve a problem, this is when you're going to hit that richest people list, that Forbes top 100 billionaire status. So I'm not there yet. So I'm not one to talk. I'm saying like I'm preaching here, but I'm not even a billionaire yet. But I'm soon to get there, hopefully. But this is the principles we use, and slowly but surely we are able to get there. So if you're going to struggle with this, by all means, comment on this thing or send me an email or something, because we do these consultations and we actually do these workshops, because I'm giving you literally a tip of the iceberg around design thinking. There's way more to it, but hopefully with this information, you can get a bit of a leg up regarding the pandemic and how you can move forward around that. So what I want to say about this now, like I've given you all this information, and I'm sure you're going to come back at me and say, but Jamie, where do I find the time? What about my day job? How do I manage the process? Because all this design thinking is such a mouthful. It's so much to do. I don't have the time to sit and research and to interview clients and to do all these things. I've got news for you. So I've got a little secret process over here, and I call this the 70-20-10 rule of growth management. Yeah, I've tried to do an Oprah voice there. But if you're not going to take anything away from my discussion today around thriving in the pandemic, I really feel that everybody should at least grow. And this is one of my secrets of growth, 70-20-10 rule of growth management. So let me just go through this with you quickly, because the main thing around this is how do you manage your time effectively? Because we know we have these side hustles. We know we want to go out, we want to enjoy our lives, we want to rest. Oh gosh, we had a long week. We had too many Zoom calls today. So there isn't a lot of time. We feel there isn't enough time for us to grow ourselves and grow our side hustles and grow our businesses. But then we can look at it and say, hey, everybody has the same amount of time in a day. So how come other people are able to do this? How come other people are managing to grow their businesses and grow their side hustles and be prosperous and flourish, even though we're going through a pandemic right now? And that's what we need to look at. So I'm going to give you my little insight tips and tricks here. And this is one of those things I want you to take note of. 70% of your time you're going to spend on your main hustle. So your main hustle might be your current day job. This is where most of your income comes from. So you spend 70% of your time, this is your 9 to 5. This is whether you work a night shift, day shift. But spend your time and energy on 70% of your time on where this money comes from. The next step, I would say, is factor in 20% of your time for your side hustle. So this could be a case of a new opportunity. It could be you started a business already and you're busy working on this business, because it's a case of how do you juggle your main hustle and your side hustle. Take 20% of your time and look at what opportunities you might have to bring in cash. If it means a whole design thinking thing all from scratch, go do that. Take 20% of your time, and instead of now watching a series or instead of now sitting on Facebook all day and posting memes like I do, take 20% of your time and go and look at doing some research and finding maybe a passion project or something for you. The next, I will say, is take 10% of your time and look at the long-term goal. This could be learning a new skill, learn to code, learn to play a musical instrument, or maybe just looking at researching some new topic. There's a lot of things online where, especially during COVID, where they've given free access to a lot of information. So obviously, Google and YouTube is there, but then there's more structured things like Skillshare that you can go to, or Show Academy. I know they've given you 4 weeks free learning. So if you're spending like 1 hour a week to learn a new skill, pop that into your 10%, you are gonna get there. Why am I telling you all of this? So once your side hustle, once you're 20%, right? Once that starts making more money than your 70%, than what you're spending 70% of the time on, you are going to make a little switch. You're going to take what you spend between your side hustle and start spending 70% of your time on that side hustle. Economically, this means that if you are spending 1 day a week on something, where your day job, you spend 5 days a week on something and it gives you the same income, if you're now able to spend 5 days a week on that side hustle, this mathematically is going to literally exponentially increase your earning potential. Because if you're spending more time on something, it means you're able to earn more. And with that said, when your 20 becomes your 70, you're now going to move that long-term goal into your 20% space. And then you're going to adapt another 10%. So you're going to end up having a new long-term goal. And with this, you're literally going to find yourself in a complete feedback loop of growth. You're going to continuously grow day in and day out. And your wealth, your value, your mental health, everything in at least prosper through that. So this is my big time management growth hack cheat sheet around how you manage your time to actually manage your side hustle. Because we all know, we all say we're too busy for everything. But do you really want to keep working the 9 to 5 and not grow? There was a line that I know that says, nobody ever got rich. Nobody ever got rich working 9 to 5. So think about it, guys. Think about whether that's where you want to see yourself, or do you want to be part of that 45.5 million people that have to file for unemployment because they're not being able to adapt fast enough. And I think the whole case of adapting is what sets us apart as human beings. So it's really a case of adapt or die, I would say. And this is what I've seen with a lot of businesses. If your business wasn't able to adapt fast enough to the situation of a pandemic, you literally had to close shop. You physically had to close down your business and lose all that money because you weren't able to get up to the times. You weren't able to ideate fast enough and manage your time effectively to retain more customers. Because this might sound wrong if I say this, but there's the law of thermodynamics. I'm actually a scientist at heart. I'm not an economist, but I kind of related the law of thermodynamics, the first law of thermodynamics, where it says energy cannot be created or destroyed, but move from one state to another. And I've kind of used that philosophy when it comes to money. And I feel that money, okay, literally it can be destroyed or created, but if you think of it in the case of the thermodynamics, money literally moves from one person to another person. And my whole point on thermodynamics around this is let that money move to you. Money is being spent right now as we speak. But why is the money not coming to you? Why is your money going out, your entropy, your energy, your thermodynamics leaving, but not coming back? Why is that change in currency or value not coming back to you? And that's what we need to really consider, is how do we adapt and change to our situation and pick up all these little cheat sheets and work it in so we are able to adapt and work in that way. So I know I've been talking for quite a long time. Oh, my throat is now dry. I'm going to just sip my tea. But a quick recap. Number one, save and invest where you can. We need to adapt a culture of saving and a culture of investment. It might sound hard, but if you just think about it, saving 10 Rand a day, like not buying that cup of coffee, not buying that extra whatever, take that cash and save it. When you get your income or whatever you're doing, whatever your business is, try to save a bit. It doesn't have to be a lot, but I'm telling you, when you're able to put all the savings together, whenever you need it, a rainy day, an investment or something, it's going to count. And this is the big leg up that a lot of billionaires had on us, is that they had a lot of money already saved up for whatever reason. So I'm definitely telling you guys, if you want to be able to thrive in a pandemic, you need to have had a savings, but keep continuing to save. This is actually the best time to save now, because a lot of people aren't even asking for rent money, your credit card. I know a lot of banks with their credit cards have paused their repayments. So take that money and don't blow it. Don't get your nails done, hair done, everything big. Take that cash and go find an investment for it, or at least put it in the savings. Not under your bed. Don't put it under your bed because the money doesn't grow there. Try to find really good investments, even if it's just a basic savings account. One thing I like to do, and this is what I've been doing with my own investments, my own money, is invest in yourself. Look at your goals, look at what you're trying to achieve, and try to analyze where you can take this money and make it work for you. So my number one on my quick recap is save and invest. My number two is find that hustle and solve a problem. Make sure you're out there to solve something. If you can launch a business, if you have an idea right now to launch a business, literally think to yourself, what problem am I solving? And with that ties into number 3 is be customer centric. Use the design thinking process. I'm going to share this, my slides with you guys as well. I'll pop a link in there. I'm sure if everyone's registered, we can send an email out to be able to get all the slides. But be customer centric and use design thinking to solve your problem. If you need help around design thinking, I am here. I'm a DM away. You can literally pop in, slide in, and I'll be able to help out. This is literally what I do as a job. I think like there's a lot of projects that I've worked on where I've made people millionaires. So I'm able to do this for you as well. The 4th point of my quick recap is manage your time effectively. Manage your energy and manage your time, because you can't come home from work, or nowadays you're at home laying in bed. I don't know. It depends on how people are working, but you can't be too tired of your 9 to 5 and not care about your side hustle. You need to also reinvest time and energy into yourself. And that's literally basically my quick steps of thriving in a pandemic. So if you do have any questions, you can add into the comments. You can pop me an email, Jamie at We Are The Agency. You can check out our site as well, We Are The Agency. And there's quite a bit that we do. I know that I'm talking too long. So if you do want to pop any questions in the comments, you might be able to do that right now. And this is it, guys. Hope you got something out of it.
Thank you so much, Jamie. We definitely got so much out of that. I've literally got a whole entire notebook full of notes. And I think I'm ready to start my own business. Okay, maybe that's a long jump, but I'll just say that I am. So thank you so much for the insight that you provided us with. This has been such a fruitful discussion. And like everyone else, I'm sure everyone's got a book of notes and they're ready to implement something. And that's the most amazing thing with these conferences, that you don't just leave here thinking that was a sweet speech, but then you leave here thinking I'm ready to implement that 10, 20, 70% concept, like as in yesterday. So thank you so much for that. So you've got lots of questions. So let me not take any time and let me jump straight into them. The first one, and I think it's been answered, but you might just want to touch on it because you did speak about billionaires and millionaires a lot at the beginning of your speech talk. And so the question is there a danger in this phenomenon of wealth seemingly being more transferred into the hands of a few? So the idea of the danger of a billionaire, that concept.
Well, I guess the danger sits on the actual billionaire or millionaire's values, because there could be a way of using money for good or using money for bad. If I look at Batman, for instance, he's a rich guy and he's a vigilante. So there is a danger. I would say there is a danger to an extent. It's more a case of, do you want to be the billionaire? Do you want to make the decisions of where this money goes to? Because billionaires could end up bribing government. Billionaires could end up doing the worst. Billionaires could also end up coming back into your community and building a school, building a rehab, setting up a farm. And that also is what government encourages, because you get tax rebates on doing those things. So I would say the danger doesn't sit with us as a viewer, because there's a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of things going on. I'm not going to deny or approve that things are true or right, but it's definitely about the values of the earner and where they sit with. I feel for us as a country and as an economy, the more billionaires and millionaires we can create, the better for us. If I look at like other countries, for instance, if I look at America, they've got the most billionaires in the world. That's why they have one of the strongest economies. And coming up very fast is China. And I don't want to sound like Trump to just mention China, but China has been speeding along that economic run and catching up to America very, very fast. And I think that's making a lot of issues for a lot of scary things. But one big thing that China did that, whereas the Chinese government, there's a lot of things I don't agree with, but also things that I do agree with. And the business sense that Chinese government has done is they invested in infrastructure. And the only way they were able to invest in infrastructure was by getting more billionaires and millionaires. So if we in South Africa can look at the same model and say, like I'll say, copy, paste, and adapt, we can look at what America's done, look at what China's done. How are they able to have made so many millionaires in such a short time, as opposed to America, Britain? And China was actually very much like, they were a third world country. Mm-hmm. And yet in the same amount of time that South Africa got out of democracy, China made so many billionaires. So I literally feel when it comes to danger around wealth, it's up to the values of who has earned that wealth.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I have to agree with you on that. And I'd love to be on the list of new billionaires myself.
I'll look out for the list. I'm glad
I'll do good things with the money. All right. So next up, so the business environment and business markets are ever changing. And so this person would like to know if with the move towards a more online presence, do you
Mm-hmm.
think that situational awareness has a significant impact on business viability? And I'd just like to add to that with the new normal concept, the idea that there's this new normal, things are ever changing. Do you believe that situational awareness is important for business viability?
This is literally my case of adapt or die. I've mentioned this because
Yeah.
if your business is not able to adapt fast enough or quick enough, no matter what it is, whether there was a pandemic or not, whether you're getting hit by load shedding, whether you're getting hit by water shortages, if your business is not
Mm,
able to change and adapt to your situation and then meet your client's need and solve a problem, your business is
mhm,
going to fail. So no matter what your business, I'm thinking now, if I look at Blockbuster, the story of Blockbuster and Netflix, Netflix literally came to Blockbuster and said, "Hey, we've got this idea. Would you like to buy it from us for
yeah.
like dirt cheap?" Netflix was going to sell to Blockbuster because Blockbuster at the time was the biggest movie chain. And I'm sure if I think we are old enough, if she doesn't remember Blockbuster, guys, she's too young for you. So we used to like rent movies from Blockbuster, and Blockbuster and a lot of big corporates had this arrogance of we're never gonna die, we never have to change our business model, we perfect.
Mm,
Netflix came in, made them an offer. They said, "Oh, this is never gonna work. Netflix. Who wants to stream things and watch things at in the comfort of their own home?" Ah,
well,
and look now, look at us now. Blockbuster literally went bankrupt. They don't
mm,
exist anymore. Netflix booming to a point that DSTV is now scared because I literally don't even have DSTV myself. We
yeah.
know DSTV is a scam. Sorry to say if anyone from MultiChoice is watching there, but this is what people feel about MultiChoice and DSTV as opposed to Netflix. And this is
Mm,
a case of DSTV had all the content themselves. They could have created Showmax years ago. They could have created it on Netflix. And another example where I see this failing on service delivery is the post office. The post
yeah.
office could have been the Amazon of the world.
Mm,
The they had everything they needed, but they were not willing to change their ways.
yeah.
They could have literally been Amazon, where Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world right now for doing exactly what the post office did. Huh?
Yeah.
But the post
Mm.
office is failing us. Ah, someone please, please explain.
No, I hear you, and I feel like Jeff Bezos is just making a million every day now. It's just every
Yeah.
day we hear about the new billions that he's making. I don't think he himself keeps track of it. But a question that I find to be very interesting is: do you believe that the entrepreneurial mindset is one of nature or nurture? So, is it something that people are born with, or is it something people can learn?
So this has come up quite a bit because with my work with an entrepreneur as well, there is this case of saying not everybody is an entrepreneur. And I can't deny that. Some people really have a fiery entrepreneurial spirit. Their brain just thinks differently. They just want to solve problems because there are other people that look at problems and complain and look at problems with a solution mindset. But I do
Mm,
believe, and I would actually want entrepreneurs to be introduced to schools. This is what teen entrepreneurs are trying to do. If we can create an entrepreneurial mindset, not in the case of let's just make everyone making their own, be your own boss, be your own business, but the mindset of let me solve a problem. Let me not point the finger, but try to solve a problem. And I think that value, that culture can be nurtured. The case of thinking of a fiery entrepreneur and being completely passionate and running with your dreams, that's one thing that I think is a person's personal trait. But the case of thinking like an entrepreneur can be instilled as a value.
mm,
And that I think is the culture of cancel complaint culture and look at the solution culture.
yeah. No, I'd have to agree with you coming from an education system that almost prepares us for 9 to 5s. And, we're
Yeah.
told to strive to get a job. And when you come out and you say, I want to be an entrepreneur, there's always this, okay, but
Yeah,
get
get
a
the real
job
job. Yeah, get a real job.
and then, think about the entrepreneurship thing. So I think it would be phenomenal if we could have those in our education systems and build a generation that wants to solve problems. And, I think,
Hmm.
yeah, that can only benefit a society. And so just a quick question. Someone wants to know which app you used for your slides.
I use Canva and it's free. Yeah.
Awesome. I love Canva as well. And then a more detailed question. So we are seeing a global trend towards entrepreneurship. as opposed to a 9 to 5. Do you see it blooming more, or do you still believe that 9 to 5s have got that foundation and they're always going to be the do thing and entrepreneurship will always be a side hustle?
So I've definitely seen how more entrepreneurs have come to light. And I guess this is a case of really being able to see other people doing it and flourishing, and them looking at themselves and saying, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. I just know there's a big disconnect. Entrepreneurship is not glamorous. Entrepreneurship is not as high life as it seems, because so many people they get inspired by entrepreneurs, but that's not the truth. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs are just flaunting it and showing their Instagram that this looks good. But entrepreneurship is so damn difficult. And I think a lot of people need to actually show the difficult side of entrepreneurship to make people realize the reality around starting a business. I can definitely tell you, since the pandemic started, there's more people coming to me and coming to our company and saying, Jamie, the agency, I want to start my business. It's about time. Yeah. And this, I think, it had to hit them because they started realizing that they can't rely on the 9 to 5 alone. And people are starting to realize right now that 9 to 5 is unreliable. And I guess not everybody has that luxury or comfort. Not everyone's working for a good company or a good enough company that was able to adapt fast enough during COVID. I'm sorry to say good enough. Some companies might have been really good, but they might have just been in the wrong situation at the time. Yeah. And they might not have been able to foresee what would happen. So sadly, a lot of companies did close and a lot of these people became unemployed. But a lot of these people that now have been unemployed, I've seen people selling food. I've seen people starting new things. I've seen a lot of musicians kicking off their music career and using Spotify, Apple Music, all these platforms, literally working from home and kicking off a music career. This is not a bad thing, guys. Do that side hustle. There's literally nothing for you to lose. Like, you're using your time, but if you use my 70-20-10 rule, you'll be able to use your time effectively and work from there. So I definitely see a big spike in entrepreneurship. It might just be a case of more people are just coming to me during this time because now they have time to talk to me or whatever. but I've seen an increase in entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to testify as well to that, especially with the food thing. There are so many new food outlets that have opened up that are just cooking like home cooked meals, and that's doing. It's really okay. Obviously, McDonald's will be around for long, but sometimes you just want to have a home cooked meal, and so they're doing amazing things. And like you said, just do it. And so your final question, and I hope you do have time to answer this, says this may relate a bit more to existing ventures, Jamie, but with regards to business continuity, preparedness, and control risks, how important are variables such as specific business models, geographical location, and the culture of an organization during a pandemic?
Oh, those things I feel are very important. You mentioned this. I can do a speech on all one. So regarding the culture, you're gonna have to just repeat again. But I know regarding the culture of a situation, if your culture fit isn't right at work, whether you're working in a corporate, whether you're working in a work from home, if they're not able to adapt fast enough to say, okay, I'm going to be able to work from home and do my Zoom meetings. Not everybody can do this. That's a fact. So you might slack in work because this is now a new thing. I'm doing Zoom meetings. I'm sitting here with a shirt on, but not even wearing bottoms. But that's how some people can feel like they flipped it the complete way around and said, I'm thriving doing Zoom meetings. And now I wake up at 5 to 8. My work starts at 8 o'clock. No 2 hours in traffic for me. I can be home for the kids. I can make lunch. I don't have any kids, not yet, but I'm speaking hypothetically here.
Yeah.
So when it comes to culture, if your company culture isn't fit or adapted to suit change, if there's too rigid of a structure, then you're not able to adapt fast enough. I'm not saying the structure and rigidity is bad, just that not everyone's able to do this. And some people work best in different situations. And some companies can see now that some of the staff enjoy working from home. And a lot of companies even see now they don't need to be buying these big offices in town. I actually was talking to Toby from Better. He's the CEO of Better. And we have an office in town. And he literally told me, like today, like last week, he said, how about we don't pay 80K a month for this office? And then like twice a year, we take the whole company on the retreat. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Work from home, and all that money that you're saving for your office space, you treat your staff. I think that will really change the culture. You mentioned there was two more things in there. Just repeat it again for me.
Okay, so
There was
it
the culture?
was there was culture, there was geographical location, and business model.
Okay, now those things are also important, but what I'm going to say geographic location, those things are important if you are dealing with a certain type of business. If you're doing a B2B business or doing a B2C business. So with the B2B business to business, unless you're actually physically making product or service that your customer or business needs, then location will be important because there's a traveling cost of getting this thing to someone. But in today's time, and if you look at the Internet of Things and how you can literally work remotely, you can go be sitting in Mauritius and be doing this work. So then if you think about it that way, geographic location isn't always a deciding factor if the work you're doing doesn't require you to physically be present. So that's the geographic location. What's the third one again?
And then the other one is specific business model.
Okay, business model can also be flexible, I feel. This is also going to be specific to your business because if you're doing, I'm trying to think of examples. If you're running a Uber service, or if you're running a restaurant, or if you're running a tutoring service, right? Your business model says you physically go to them and tutor them. But now with the change, you now can tutor via Zoom, which a lot of people have done. And guess what? You can now tutor people across the country. Yeah. So I think that can also fit into geographic location. So if you're able to adapt your business model to suit your situation, fail in business when people weren't able to adapt fast enough. But the big thing is really trying to understand what is the problem and what solutions are out there for this problem, or what solutions can I do to solve this problem. Because if I look at tutoring, for instance, on its own, tutoring should be booming right now. Where's all those GK members? You guys should be becoming tutors right now because the kids can't go to school. So they need some extra support. And all of whoever's listening from GK, I think we should set up a little tutoring campaign because you know the GK guys are the clever ones. The golden key students are the ones with the brains. Well, everyone's got brains, but the golden key ones are the ones with the academic excellence. I'm sorry to say it like that, but we believe it. We are. Sorry to say this. I just feel that when it comes to academics, you can be academically smart, but then I put you in a situation and you might not be able to thrive. So I feel you need to kind of be a completely holistic student because somebody might not have gotten the top marks, but give them the same situation, same scenario, and they thrive. A lot of entrepreneurs didn't even finish university. So I feel yes, education is cool and important, but you do what you do. You work yourself. Like, do you, boo? Yeah, sorry to sidetrack here, but...
Yeah, no. I hear you 100%. I think we have time for either one more or two more questions. But someone is saying that nowadays, especially with the young people, they hear the word venture capitalist being thrown around. Could you maybe expand on that? What is a venture capitalist, or is it just a trendy term?
A venture capitalist, I literally got asked this today. A venture capitalist is, I would say, similar to an angel investor. It's someone that can see what you're doing, or you show the person, this is my work, and they're able to invest in your venture and capitalize on your venture. So if you have a really cool concept, you have an idea, but the problem is you don't have funding. Your idea might cost $1 million, $2 million to make, but it can bring in 1 year, 17 million or 20 million, but you need that seed funding to start. So there are avenues, government funding, you can take it to loan, you can take it to grant, you can ask your friends and family. There's the 3 F's, friends, families, and fools. That's who you should ask for money first when you start in a business. But when it comes to venture capitalists, there's some people don't like them, some people like them. I feel that you need to get the right venture capitalist. Don't get an investor just because they have money. Get an investor that has a network that can support your business. Get an investor that has invested interest in your business so that if your business flourishes, there's more that they can bring to the business than just the money. And those type of investors are the ones that will sit with you and work through the business with you. Because more often than not, your business needs more money than you literally put down in the budget initially. And if you have a good venture capitalist that also believes in your concept and has a bigger vision for your business, then you will still have access to this money. Might not necessarily be via that actual business, that venture capitalist themselves, but there could be a venture capitalist group. There could be a fund manager. There could be more people you're able to access via this venture capitalist. Then people ask about, but I'm giving away my business. I'm giving away my shares. I'm giving away my my idea that I've worked for. I'm going to tell you this, sis. Do you want 100% of nothing, or do you want 50% of a $1 billion company?
Yeah.
So it might sound like, yes, you're giving away part of your business, but you can't do things alone. Get yourself that team. Get yourself funding, whether it's a venture capitalist, whether it's your friends, whether it's your family, and offer them that shares. Offer them it's either a loan, offer them a trade exchange to say, hey, I'm busy making handbags, for instance. I need 2,000 Rand for this handbags, but if you give me this 2,000 Rand, I'll give you my handbags at 50% off. Or you know what, I'll give you my first handbag for free. That isn't necessarily a venture capitalist way of dealing with it, but that's the way that you can actually get that cash in so you can start prospering yourself. Because if you're going to try to be that entrepreneur that does everything, that does the marketing, the accounting, the business development, girl, you're going to struggle. When are you going to get that business going?
Yeah.
So be open to start accepting partnerships and be open to venture capitalists. It is a good option, but also be wary of who this venture capitalist is and do your research. Don't just have big eyes when you see, money, money, money. Be aware of who they are and see how do they holistically fit into your business and how do they help.
I thank you so much, Jamie. There was one last question, but I think you answered it during your talk. The person wanted to find out where they could find mentorship in terms of their business and get advice. But I think that's exactly what We Are the Agency is for. So,
Yes.
like you said, your DMs are open.
Yeah.
Your DMs are open, and
we recently started getting a funding manager. So we look at when we validate our projects. We are now ourselves at the position where we can start investing into our clients' work as well. So nice for us, but it's also nice for our clients because often, and I've been having this problem, a lot of clients come to us, but they don't have money. And unfortunately, also, we need to look at how do we get this business to a viable point to start getting that startup funding. And that's what we started looking at. For us, we adapted and said, we need to provide another service for our clients to start serving them in a way where they have access to funding. And we start helping them build a business plan to look for funding or to find funding. Cool. That's me. This was fun.
Thank you so much, Jamie. An incredible talk, like we said. We really have learned a lot from this. And just to let everyone know, if you missed out little bits of this because of load shedding, or you want to go back and quickly write down notes, this will be available on the Golden Key South Africa YouTube channel. So make sure you go over there to find out more. And also, if you would like to get more involved in the Alumni Society, follow Golden Key _alumni on Instagram. Check your emails regularly for opportunities that are being offered by Golden Key, and be on the lookout for Golden Key updates for the alumni activities. It has been awesome. Thank you for everyone who has tuned in. We have learned so much from this. Looking forward to seeing everyone again tomorrow. Thank you so much, Jamie. Have a good evening,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks so much. Awesome. Bye-bye.
Cool. Bye.